Hey there, and welcome. So, if you're a rideshare driver, you definitely know this feeling, right? You wrap up a long day, you look at your app, and you see a pretty solid number staring back at you. But what does that number actually mean for your bank account? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the real costs of gig driving, and we're going to figure out what you're truly taking home. So let's start with a feeling I think we can all relate to.
You've been on the road for hours, you've battled traffic, you've done the whole thing, and at the end of the day, your app shows this. $200. Man, that feels good, doesn't it? It feels like a successful day's work for sure. But right there, that's maybe the most important question any driver can ask. Because that $200, that's your revenue. That's not your profit. The real story, the one that actually hits your wallet, is what's left over after you subtract all those hidden costs. And believe me, the first one we're going to look at, it's a big one.
All right, let's dive into insurance. Now, most drivers just assume, yeah, I'm covered. But there's this huge, and I mean financially dangerous gap that a lot of folks don't even know exists until, well, it's way too late. And it all boils down to how the insurance companies break down a single trip.
Okay, so check this out. For insurance purposes, a rideshare trip is actually broken into 3 distinct parts, or periods. You've got period 1, that's when your app is on, but you're just waiting for a request. Then there's period 2. You've accepted a ride and now you're on your way to pick someone up. And finally, period 3. That's the actual trip with the passenger in your car. Now you might be thinking, so what? Well, it matters a lot, because your insurance coverage changes like dramatically between these periods. So, during periods 2 and 3, when you're going to the rider or they're in the car, things look pretty good. You've got $1 million in liability coverage and your own car is covered for collision. But take a closer look at period 1. This is the scary part. While the company gives you some liability coverage, there is absolutely zero, and I mean zero, collision coverage for your own vehicle. So think about that. If someone plows into you while you're just sitting there waiting for a ride request, you could be totally on your own to fix your car. Oh, and remember that catch for periods 2 and 3? Well, here it is. Even when the company's policy does cover your car, it comes with a massive $2,500 deductible. That is a huge chunk of change you have to pay out of your own pocket before their insurance even starts to help. It's a massive potential cost, just hiding there in plain sight. Okay, so that's the risk of a sudden catastrophic accident. But now let's talk about another cost. And this one isn't a risk, it's a 100% guarantee. It's the slow, silent bill that your car is racking up with every single kilometer you drive.
I absolutely love this analogy from our source material because it's just so perfect. Think about it. Your car's value is like a shrinking bar of soap. You don't really notice it getting smaller each time you use it, but, over a few weeks, it's gone. Your car's value, its lifespan, it works the exact same way. Every single trip just uses a little bit up, and that little bit has a very real cost.
So what are we talking about here exactly? What is that cost? Let's break it down, piece by piece. We're going to build up the total, unseen cost of driving your car for just 1 kilometer. And I'll give you a hint. It's probably more than you think. Okay, let's look at the numbers. First up, fuel. That's the obvious one, right? That's about 10 cents per kilometer. Then you've got maintenance, oil changes, new tires. That adds about another 4.5 cents. But here's the kicker, the one that sneaks up on you. Depreciation. The value your car is literally losing as you drive it. That's a staggering 25 cents for every single kilometer. So when you add it all up, the main takeaway is this. Your total operating cost is around 40 cents for every kilometer you're on the road.
And you know what? It actually gets a little worse, because you aren't just driving paid kilometers. Think about it. You have to drive to the rider, and then after you drop them off, you often have to drive to get to the next busy area. These are what we call empty miles or empty kilometers, and you don't get paid a dime for them. So a trip the app says was 45 kilometers might have actually cost you 65 kilometers of driving, and every one of those extra kilometers is eating directly into your earnings.
All right, so we've just uncovered the 2 big hidden costs, the massive risk from that insurance gap and the guaranteed cost of just operating your vehicle. Now, it's time to put it all together. Let's see what happens to that $200 we were so happy about at the beginning. Okay, let's go back to our driver. They finished the day, feeling great, looking at $200 in revenue on their phone. But now we know our real cost per kilometer. So let's do the real math. So you start with that $200 in app revenue. Let's say, for example, you drove a total of 300 kilometers that day to earn it, okay? So we take those 300 kilometers and we multiply them by our 40-cent operating cost. That comes out to $120. Now you subtract that from your revenue, and your real profit, before you even think about taxes, is just $80. Wow, that is a huge difference from 200, isn't it?
And hey, if you're thinking that 40-cent per kilometer number seems a little high, check this out. Look at what the governments themselves say driving costs for tax purposes. The IRS in the USA is at 72.5 cents a mile. The CRA in Canada, 73 cents a kilometer. So if anything, our calculation was actually on the conservative side. It just proves that these vehicle costs are very, very real and super significant.
Okay, I know. That was a lot of pretty tough news. But look, the whole point of this isn't to discourage you. It's to empower you with knowledge. So, now that we actually understand the risks and the real costs, the question is, how do we protect ourselves financially?
Well, the single most important tool in your arsenal is something called a rideshare endorsement. It's just a simple, pretty affordable add-on to your existing personal insurance policy. And what it does is it's designed specifically to close that super dangerous Period 1 coverage gap we talked about. And a lot of the time, it can even help you lower that crazy high $2,500 deductible.
And the best part is, this protection is totally accessible. We're talking about maybe $27 or $28 a month. Major insurers like State Farm, Progressive, Mercury, they can give you that financial shield. You got to think of it as a small, essential business expense that protects you from a loss that could be, totally catastrophic. So we kind of end up right back where we started, but now we have a totally new perspective. The real question you should be asking yourself at the end of the day isn't how much did I make? It's, did my work today actually generate a profit? Because once you understand your true costs, from that insurance gap all the way to depreciation, that's when you can start making really informed decisions and making sure all your hard work on the road is actually rewarding you. Thanks so much for joining us for this one.